and then we will. Have you all had a chance to read the minutes from March?
I did not.
So they, I believe they were sent right. Sorry, I'm having, and I don't have an excuse. I'm on my third cup of coffee. My only excuse is there's only 2.5 weeks of school and my head is exploding. So, okay. Do you all need the minutes sent to you, or do you have them? Because I
have them.
Okay, so why don't we just take a minute to actually let's kind of review it out loud, because I think it's good, especially since we canceled the last meeting. I think it's always good to kind of refresh what we talked about. I guess I don't have to do it out loud. So you all read the minutes and then we'll go from there. I'll give like 3 minutes.
Can you tell me which email the minutes are contained in? Because I don't know. I can't ever find anything in Gmail.
Yeah, let me look.
Are you here for public comment? For
Let
subcommittee
me
or
see.
GEP?
No, it's not that one. Okay. Let me see.
Okay.
So the email I see from May 15th said she did not attach minutes from April 23rd. So we're looking at March minutes, are we?
Yes.
Okay. So let me find out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
Okay. So just to let you know, we have a parent in the room. So
Okay.
for public comment if on your agenda. Okay.
Oh, okay. You know what? Let's go ahead and allow that public comment, because since we had to start late due to the technical difficulties, we're actually at the point where we would have had public comment. So let's go ahead and allow our person for public comment, and then we'll continue with the minutes. So is that person coming to the mic in the room?
Yes, he's coming to the mic in the room.
Okay,
so
thank
have
you.
to press the button. So just to explain, what we are a committee of 23 organizations in the community that represent different entities within the community. So like FAU Card, there is Sabrina, what do you do? What's your organization?
I'm FAU Card, yeah.
Your FAU Card. Sue, what's your organization?
Gold Coast Down Syndrome Organization.
And Dr. Robinson, what's your
Coalition
organization?
for Black Student Achievement.
So it's like different organizations. So it's called the District Diversity and Equity Committee. And so we come together and we basically try to talk about things that will that impact our community and the community of their constituents, and try to and so the subcommittee breaks off, and right now we're talking about we're trying to figure out how to find the teachers that are most impactful in schools, to figure out what they're doing to be more so impactful.
Okay.
What what's their education? What kind of professional development they're doing? And so that's their discussion today. So
it's for the teachers.
we want to know who the teachers are, where they're located, and what they're doing, so that we can provide that training to other teachers or provide whatever they're doing so that that can be pushed out to others in our district.
Right. Well, for Florida, I've been like I said, I've been coaching for a long time in this area, and my biggest thing is it's more about a lot of the, I would say, financial resources is the biggest problem why teachers don't commit as much as they used to, and it's a lot more expensive in the community. I think it set us back from the COVID era, and moved on from that, but it did set a lot of stuff back. And I think more and more it's starting to get back to it, but I just feel like whoever's controlling the resources, whoever think they're behind the scenes, they might have to put a little bit more effort into making teachers more motivated, being more open minded to do ideas. And like I said, it's a lot of coaches that will be willing to help, but they are very underpaid as well. So I'm glad I actually stepped in, because that's the people that do a lot of volunteering, a lot of free extra work. I know they don't have the credentials that you all do, because you probably all doctors and master degrees, and we're not standing on. We're not trying to step on that part of the you know, involvement of being in the community after school. And I actually, one of the best thing about being in school is, you know, being together in a group. And then after school, it's like the parents might have to work. And I think we definitely just need to figure out who really wants to do it, and just put more financial resources into you guys being able to, spend your time and not be underpaid as well. So it's just more about that, people having the want to and the reason to, and it's not cheap to live no more. So and that's basically what mainly why people, get deterred from being, wanting to do it. They might have the drive inside them, but they might have to do more for their family after they leave work. So that's basically how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Robinson, did you have a question for Coach Bush, or did you just want to have some? Did you have something to say?
I do, but I didn't hear his name, and so
Oh.
if
I'm
I
sorry.
missed
My
it,
name
then
is Coach Ira Bush.
okay, nice to meet you. So maybe we could talk offline, because there's ways that we need to do better with connecting the role of the coach to improve life outcomes for our children, even those who are not going to excel in sports after they get out of
All right, I
high
feel
school
that
life.
strongly. That's one of my main messages. Is like, like it's like 10% to 5% of y'all even going to be successful in that realm, and it gets
Mm.
lower after college. So, that's how I preach that definitely.
So may
So,
I ask what you coach and where you coach?
well, my first 5 years was at Forest Hill High School. I was an offensive line coach and a junior varsity head coach. And then I went to American Heritage Delray for 2 years, and then Olympic Heights for another 2 years. I started when I was 18. The people I was under was Chris Coquel and Bass Alford. Those are two of my head coaches, and Jude Blessington. And these are people, they still are head coaches in the area. So you can the reference will always be there for me. And I came from a strong coaching tree, and these also were my coaches in high school as well. So I don't have I came here because I have a niece and a nephew, and a child. She's in Broward, but she comes in this county all the time. And me and my sister did a lot in this community as far as coaching, and she played sports as well at Lake Worth High School. And I went to Boca High for 2 years, and it's I just intertwined already here, and I got a lot of ties from where I'm from in Pinellas County as well. And I just want to actually grow. I'm glad this is what y'all talking about. The after school and stuff is very important to me. That's where I learned how to be, a role model. I got a lot of experience just being a part of these programs, developing prep football teams as well. I got a lot of experience doing these things. So I just want to be informed. They all getting older. They're going to middle school. My niece is in middle school. My child's going to middle school next year. So everything changes when they get to that level, and I just kind of be a little bit more informed. So that's the main reason why I'm here.
So Thank you so much for your comments. I mean, nobody will disagree with you whatsoever. And I have to say, I'm in a lot of IEP meetings, and we used to, when the IEP would go late, teachers would just stay, even though, it was past their time. And nowadays, everybody's leaving has to leave to go to their second job. And, it's a really sad state of affairs when so many teachers have to have a second job just to survive. It's crazy.
And that's why I said the main thing I could just remember, like I had to, when I was a young coach, I caught the bus to practice. I stayed down the street now. I'm still down the street for Forest Hill. So, I know about the resources. I didn't cut no corners to get the proper training. I was there on time. I was there at 2:00, 1:30 every day. I was there early, left late. We went to coaches clinics in the area. We went to coaches clinic outside the area. We were very tight knit coaching tree. So, I still can call them guys now. So I appreciate them a lot. They got a lot of footprints in this county as far as coaching and then mentoring and teaching. And one's a math teacher, one's a physical education teacher. So I appreciate them guys a lot for developing me who I am. So it just for you, I can't touch base with them all the time because we all got families. But the more if y'all get in touch with them, yeah, they'll probably say the same thing about the financial underpayment of Florida coaches in all sports, probably, especially football. And that's what that's where I come from as far as prep, 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 prep sports in this county. Mostly football. So just the underpayment and us putting so much time in. Everybody eventually get wives and we have children, and we have to spend more time with them. And that was one of the main discussions as a young coach. I hear them talking about it. That's what helped me develop who I am. Just knowing what's going on in that realm. Just we got to have the finances, and it's basically we work for free. We get, I think head coaches get 5,000 for a whole year, and what you call it, the assistants only get 2,700 total for the whole year, and we got to be there 6 months out the year. So if you do the math, they say it on the check, it said $1. When they break it down in our salary, it's $1 to be there per day. So it's just underpayment, and I know other sports probably have other ways, fundraising, depending on your development of your whole sports room, athletic director probably can figure out other ways, but it's still rules and regulations behind that too. So in Florida, so it's very tough, especially here, especially after this care part. And I'm not focusing. I love education. Like I think developing like math and science and reading programs after school is very important in the K through 8 middle school, definitely. And that's when you're most you listen more when you're younger, and it's better to learn that when you're younger, and then you get to pick and choose when you get to high school what program you want to be in, and the same thing in college. So just like if y'all got ideas for developing those things, that's what I'm focusing on right now, as far as what I want to do as well. So this is a perfect meeting for me to sit in.
Well, thank you, Coach Bush. We appreciate you. What do we have next on the agenda? I'm going to give you Dr. Robinson's number. She told me to pass her number to you. Okay, I have it for you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. So the next thing is take a few minutes to read the minutes, and then we'll do approval of the minutes. when you guys are done, just make a motion. There's only two of you, so one of you has to make a motion, one has to second it.
I just have a question. Did we ever receive the data that was mentioned?
Well, so that's what we'll talk about next.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because I thought that we weren't going to meet last month to review it, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah. Well, so no, we canceled the meeting last month because we didn't have any data, and we got data this month, but nowhere even close to what we wanted.
We're going to that next, right? So let
Yeah,
me just,
yeah. So let's just finish the minutes. Yeah.
I want to, so I just want to, I'm gonna move to approve. Well, I can't remember what order I'm supposed to do this in. So the only thing is throughout the minutes, it refers to the test as FAA.
Oh,
And I think that it should be fast.
Fast, yeah.
Okay. So I would move that we approve the minutes with the correction that everywhere it refers to the FAA test, that is corrected to be fast.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I did. I must have had FAA on the mind. And
okay, so second, we got a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? It's only the three of us. Okay. All right. So so you all we all received a spreadsheet.
Well, I just sent this to Sabrina. Who is the PBCC PTA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Chair?
This is Marcus Brown.
Okay, I'm gonna send it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Good
haven't
good to hear everybody. Apologies, I haven't been on all year. Apologies. Glad to be on today.
So let me ask you, we actually removed you from the roll call last month because you hadn't been here. Yeah.
I saw that.
So
I'm just
if you'd like to be added back, we can. The reason we actually had removed you is because then we were having trouble getting quorum. If you think that you'll be attending, we're really happy to add you back. And also, since it's an open meeting, anybody can attend. So
I do plan to attend. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I do plan to attend. So if you're happy, I'll be happy to attend. I'll be happy to be added to the roll. If not, I'll still show up and just listen in.
Okay. All right. So do you all have the spreadsheet? So, you know, what we were able to get was not at all what we requested. Well, I'm finding it to bring it up because I don't still have it up.
I have it up, but I see what you're saying.
Well, I'm going to say it may not be what we were trying to ask for, but it is what we asked for, right? So part of the stuff with data requests or public records requests is speaking the language of the receiver, right?
Right. Well, I think what the main difference of what we requested and got was we requested teachers and we got schools, which are two very thing.
So I said the same thing. And then I think on the second page, so because I already kind of fussed at Miss Simmons about this. So maybe she can clarify, because I think that maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna be quiet, let Miss Simmons respond.
So on the second page, what you don't have is teacher names. And I think that they have to, when I talk to Paul and Keith, there's they have to talk to legal about disclosing those names.
No, we don't want names. No.
Then there has to be a conversation in the committee because Sue said she wanted names.
Oh,
Well, so yeah, and I'm sorry, I really should have been more clear. So what we're looking for is a way, we don't need their actual names, but we need some kind of identifying thing that we can then use to look at like what training those individual teachers have had, what professional development, what education, what, you know, whatever. So yeah, like we don't actually need, you know, so I don't know how we go about that.
Right. So
So-
how do you find? Why you got your hand up? Like you? Let me finish talking, please. Put your hand down. So if you go to the second sheet, it will tell you, like for example, Barton Elementary School. In language arts, they have 32 teachers that teach language arts, some section of language arts. That's the big N. At least one of
Okay.
those teachers have greater than 50% have that level 1 progress of students progress from FY23 to FY24. So 3.1% of those students, they showed progress. That's how Paul explained it to me.
Can you tell me what the greater than 50 means?
Greater than 50% of the students, the percent of teachers greater than 50% of the greater than 50% of the students went from level 1 had, how did he explain it? This is why I wanted him to come, and he can't come this month. Okay, greater than 50%. So you wanted to show level 1 students that progressed from FY23 to FY24. You wanted the teachers that showed progress for level 1 students, FY23 to FY24. He did teachers that showed progress for those students that had greater than 50%. That's how he showed the progress.
So are you saying that's more than 50% of the students showed the progress? Is that what
Yes.
the 50% is referring to, is the students?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Mr. Oswald just entered the room.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't think that is going to give you the way that the way that that's going to tell you what kind of training that one teacher had. That's not going to tell you the professional development that that teacher had for language arts. 3 of those teachers out of the 14 that teach math at Barton Elementary School, that's not going to tell you what kind of training that teacher had. Those teachers had. Okay, Dr. Robinson, you have the floor.
thank you. So first, should we put this spreadsheet up on the screen so we can all looking at the same thing? But okay, so this is my, because I was looking at this earlier trying to make sense of it. And so you've helped in explaining that the big N is the number of sections, right? So to go back to your example of Barton Elementary, there are 32 sections of ELA at Barton Elementary. But I think the little n is also sections. Now, if you ask this clarifying question to Mr. Houchins and I'm wrong, like tell me. But I'm suspecting, because if you're gonna do percentage, your I can't think of the right word in math. Like your descriptors are gonna be the same. Like you're not gonna do, you know, buses in the numerator and bicycles in the denominator. So I think the little n is probably sections too. And so what I'm thinking this means, and we really do need to have a meeting with him so that we can all ask our questions, because we all process stuff in different ways. But what I'm guessing is one of the 32 sections of ELA at Barton Elementary had more than 50% of the students make whatever the gains are. So see, part of this I realized is, I don't know if this is, we asked the question about moving 1 level or moving 2 levels. So I'm gonna guess this is greater than 50%. I mean, yeah, one section had more than 50% of the students who moved one level or more. I'm guessing, but I would like to know, right?
That's what I'm thinking as well. Yes, some objectivity on what exactly it is being told.
So according to Dr. Houchins,
Okay.
32 teachers at Bard Elementary School. Big N represents 32 teachers
Oh, teachers. Okay.
Okay.
that had language arts,
Mm-hmm.
not the sections,
Yeah,
but it represents a section because it's an elementary school. Does that make sense?
okay.
So I said sections, but those are 32 teachers.
Okay. And the little n would be teachers too. The number of teachers where more than 50% of the students made at least one level gain.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So here's the question then. I think it'll be really useful to really drill down and look at the schools that made a lot of progress. But with our original data request, we were trying to say, okay, let's look at like that one teacher at Barton Elementary. What is different about that teacher than the others? Go ahead, Deborah.
So, and that's fine to dig into that, but I'm telling you, you can go down a rabbit hole that we'll be in for a year, right? So, and well, whatever rabbit hole we go down is going to take a long time because we're talking about changing something that's in a system, in an institution. But for me, where I started with these conversations was the disproportionate placement of effective teachers. I think part of this was we were trying to define what an effective teacher is. And then I wanted to look, I don't know if this was the consensus or just in my mind. So the placement of those teachers, right?
I believe you're right. And to see, what schools are these teachers being placed in, and which is why we also asked for the data, for the student data to be searchable by ESOL, race, gender, PSE. I'm not sure so that we could kind of like compare and contrast the schools that we're seeing here to that demographic data.
But I mean, I do think that once when we see a cluster, so for example, when I was just going through it, I noticed that there seemed to be like a cluster, if you will, at least for ELA, of these teachers at like, I think I remember Plamosa, right? And as you scroll, I see some others, Hagen Road Elementary. So I think that maybe, I don't know how we do it, but we talk to the principals and or APs about how that happened, because there's so many different variables that can create a really effective teacher. And I think a lot of it is the school-based leadership, right? And the expectations, the culture and climate. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what, and I think that we need to go for broader things before we get into trying to figure out what professional development they had, right? Yeah. I mean, and maybe, never mind. I'm gonna finish this thought. Maybe we ask the district to start tagging in their data system, tagging professional development and their future outcomes so that they could look at it themselves. Like everybody who went to Sue Davis Killian's training, on 7th grade advanced math, all of their kids tend to outperform the other kids, but that would be a retrospective and the data would need to be tagged first, right? So maybe I'm just throwing that out there. But I really think, it's just like with physicians, you go to all kinds of continuing medical education stuff, and it's not the training, it's the person and how they choose if they are inspired to use it. Okay, I'm gonna quit outing my profession now. Okay.
I think that what Dr. Robinson said is important, because I think that maybe looking at some of the comparisons of the schools and the like population of the school, and seeing like whether or not who's servicing those students and what students are being serviced, and seeing, so now where are we with, who are the teachers there? What is the teacher population there? Like, and trying to compare, and then maybe that's where you can try to find what you're looking for. What is being provided for those teachers, and why maybe that school has 9 or 12 teachers as getting those results, as opposed to this school that has the same population and they have 2 to 3 teachers. Maybe is that what we're saying, Dr. Robinson? I'm not sure. Marcus has his hand raised.
That's when you just mentioned population. Are you referring, or is part of that look into the population of the school or the teacher base demographics?
Demographics. I'm talking about demographics, as far as just trying to compare similar schools, looking from top to bottom.
I think one of the other things, I mean, we're talking about the demographics of the students at the schools, not, not, I think, so much the demographics of the teachers, but something else to think about, which would be useful piece of information to know, is we probably actually have this from the other data, because I'm looking at, like, for example, Elbridge Gale, where 84% of their teachers had more than 50% of their students make gains. But so, 11 of their 13. But maybe they could have had only 11 students that were at a level 1, right? Because of the demographics of the school. So I'm just thinking, like that looks like really great percentages. You're like, oh, they managed to raise their students, but it's going to be very different if you have one student in your class at a level 1 that you're trying to raise up, or if you have half your class at a level 1 and you're trying to raise them up. So I think this data would be good when we go back. Remember, we looked months ago at that. We had those links online that have those really great, all the stuff with all the demographics and everything about the schools and the students. So I think we really kind of have to spend some time to tie it all together and look at, and maybe you start by looking at the schools on this list that have high numbers. Maybe look at the schools that have the highest numbers and the schools that have the lowest numbers, and just as an exercise, then go look at the demographics of the schools, right? And see, because I think what we want to find is those teachers who are really effective, not just those teachers who happen to be lucky enough to work in a school that has, the demographics that will lead to those results.
But isn't this data, so to me, it's kind of clear that on page 1, we're talking about students who started with level 1 or started with level 2, right? Let me look at it again. So, right.
Oh, okay, we do have that data. Right.
Right.
Okay, I was looking at the page 2.
Right. So that's the question, is if Ms. Simmons knows if this percent on page 2, if the percent greater than 50%, do you know if that is students who started level 1 that moved at least one level? Do you know exactly what that definition is?
I have to look at the bullet points that I sent him, Dr. Houchins. Let me look at those bullet points that I sent him in the email.
Right. But yeah, so looking back at this page 1, so let's go back to like say Elbridge Gale. So they had 35 students that were at a level 1, and about a fourth of them stayed at level 1, and about 2/3 went up 1 or 2. About half went up to 1. So this is that is really good information, because I think we start looking at those schools that have the higher percentages of students moving up. It'd be interesting, like, to do a little like quick analysis here, like as the number of students who are total at level 1 goes up, does the percentage of those who increase go down? In other words, just a pure volume thing.
Well, that's why we got it sortable, so we can play with that.
Yeah. Oh, it's 9:55. Between our IT problems and our guest speaker, we haven't had a lot. So let's talk about what we want to do going forward. I kind of feel like we should.
So it is students that had more than 50% of their level 1 students grow to a level 2 or higher.
Okay.
That's on that page 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would be good to kind of take some time to analyze this data and maybe cross-reference it with the teacher effectiveness survey.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. So really what we have to say is, are we all going to spend some time offline?
Are we talking about the school effectiveness questionnaire, the SEQ?
Yeah.
Because we got that data earlier. So
it might be beneficial to look at those schools, especially on page 2, see which teachers, which schools had a higher percentage of teachers making those gains, and then cross-reference it with the school effectiveness or the survey.
So you're trying to correlate academic gains to the culture and climate. Okay. And also, I think that's valid. That's just not where we started, but I think that's a good question. Right. But when I sorted, because I know we can get cut off, but when I sorted, what I see is if you are fortunate enough, if you have formally performed at level 1 and you are fortunate enough to go to a high income school like Dreyfus, Jupiter Farm, Suncoast, I don't know West Boynton Middle enough. I'm assume it too, or Bach, Marsh Point, huh?
Park Vista. I mean, I was looking at Park Vista on page 2.
Right, but if you sort column H and column Q from lowest to highest, so I'm looking at who goes from level 1 to level 3, who started at level 1, and the percentage that went to level 3, and part of that might be, I think Sue Davis was talking about just volume, how many students who started at level 1, but so I think we need to ask questions and see if the data we have answers it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what, again, because we only have 1 minute now, I'll kind of summarize what we want, not just the people here today, but the few who also couldn't attend, and ask everyone to spend the time between now and the next meeting to really kind of, devote a few hours or so to analyzing the data, and then we'll go from there at the next meeting. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.